The movie begins with a girl named Jane, who is running away from 3 men. She is terrified until she reaches the edge of a high cliff. When they finally catch up and surround her, she keeps moving closer to the edge. One of them, named Richard, tries to calm her down. He tells her he'll do whatever she wants, then takes the phone from his friend Jack to call the pilot so that the plane can come quickly and bring her home. After ending the call, he tells her the plane will arrive in half an hour and apologizes again, saying he didn't mean to hit her but lost control when she threatened to report them to the police. Richard approaches to reassure her, but suddenly pushes her off the cliff. She falls, but a tree branch stops her, piercing into her stomach. Jack and Dimitri, his friends, are shocked by what Richard did and think he's gone insane. But Richard explains that if she had taken the plane back to the city, she would have reported them to the police, and the least they'd get would be 15 years in prison. It also turns out he never actually called the pilot, he just pretended so he could get close to her. He insists they must now get rid of her body quickly before anyone passes by and sees it. When Richard returns home, he burns all of her belongings to erase any trace of her. In the process, he remembers their time together when they first arrived. Richard and Jane were in a relationship and had come there by plane to spend a few days together. He had even told the pilot not to leave town until Richard called him. While saying goodbye, Richard noticed the pilot handing him a small bag of a strange substance. The pilot explained it was a new drug, just for fun, to make the few days with Jane more enjoyable. Meanwhile, Jack and Dimitri prepare their weapons and hunting gear to dispose of Jane's body. Jack decides to apologize to Richard for the trouble he caused with Jane, but Richard coldly tells him he doesn't know anyone by that name and that he'd better forget everything that happened. At this point, Jack realizes that Richard has no mercy left in his heart. He recalls the first time he saw Jane, when she had gone to get food and ran into him and Dimitri standing with weapons. Their strange stares made her call out for Richard, who revealed they were his friends and had planned to meet at the house to hunt together. Richard, however, noticed his friends staring at Jane's beauty and grew furious, arguing with them for showing up earlier than expected. Because of them, he said, he wouldn't get to spend enough time with Jane and would have to take her away the next day. Later, when Jane couldn't find Richard in the house, Jack told her Richard had taken their passports to finalize the hunting permits. Jane then noticed Jack paying too much attention to her. She excused herself, saying she needed to pack her bag for tomorrow's departure. But Jack followed her into the room, insisting on getting closer. He even offered her a well-paid job at his company just to win her over, but she refused and asked him to leave so she could pack. Her rejection drove him mad, and in an attempt to force her attention, he assaulted her. Dimitri entered the room but chose to stay passive, refusing to stop Jack or help Jane. He simply walked away, pretending he had seen nothing, and went to the pool. Later, Richard returned and told Jack he had finished the permits. When Jack remained quiet, Richard realized something was wrong and went to check on Jane. He found her lying in bed, crying, refusing to even look at him. She asked him to call the pilot and take her home immediately. She expected Richard to avenge her by punishing Jack, but instead he shocked her. Richard handed her a check with a large sum of money as compensation for what happened, telling her to start a new life. Jane realized then that he never truly loved her. He had only used her for fun, along with his friends. Furious, she demanded he call the pilot right away, or she would call the police and report that she had been kidnapped and assaulted. Her words enraged Richard. He hit her, knocking her to the ground. She ran out of the house, and his friends saw him chasing her, so they joined in without even knowing why. The shocking twist: Jane survived the fall. Despite the branch piercing her stomach, she was still alive, though disoriented and in shock. She saw her lighter on the ground and struggled to reach it, knowing she had no choice but to set the branch on fire so it would snap, even if it meant enduring the flames burning her body until it broke. It was her only way to escape before Richard and his friends came to finish her off. She eventually fell to the ground and, hearing Richard's car approaching, tried with all her strength to crawl away. When the men arrived, they were shocked to see her body gone and the burned branch where she had been impaled. Realizing she might still be alive, Jack suggested they help her, call an ambulance, and handle it with money and lawyers. It would be better than facing a murder charge. But Richard, even when given this second chance to make things right, refused. He insisted they had to hunt her down and kill her to end the problem once and for all, threatening Jack that he'd share her fate if he disobeyed. Meanwhile, Jane hid nearby, waiting for them to leave so she could move. By the time Richard and his friends reached the site where she had fallen, night had fallen. They found no sign of her except bloodstains, proving she had been there not long ago. Dimitri noticed the blood trail continuing down the mountain. They follow the trail on the ground in that direction until the blood drops disappear at the lake. Richard tells each of them to search in a different direction. It's impossible that she went down into the lake injured. Jack decides to stay in the car, pretending she might come back. At that moment, Jane is actually walking along the lake edge, trying to let her blood trail disappear into the water. By bad luck, the path she's taking is the same route Dimitri chose. To hide from him, she is forced to go into the lake until he passes by. He doesn't notice her. As soon as she climbs out of the water, she sees his rifle moving as he aims to spot her. She edges closer cautiously so as not to make a sound, then grabs the rifle. Dimitri senses something and turns. At that moment, Jane decides this is her only chance to get revenge. She pulls the trigger, but unfortunately, the rifle doesn't fire. Dimitri takes advantage of the moment and strikes her. Afterward, he tells his friends he's found her and will meet them at the car after he finishes her off. But he decides to toy with her a little because of the fear and horror they suffered earlier. Jane manages to free herself when she grabs the knife he's carrying and stabs him, killing the first person who tried to harm her. When Jack had assaulted her earlier, he had been passive and hadn't tried to help. Now Jack finally feels relieved, the tension easing, and waits in the car for the two of them to return. Jane moves away from where she was before anyone comes, but unfortunately, she stops on the road because she has run out of petrol and continues on foot. Because she has lost a lot of blue, she can't walk far. She finds a hiding place to wait until morning. She searches Dimitri's bag, the one she took after killing him, and finds rifle ammunition, a torch, and a drink. She drinks because she has lost a lot of bodily fluids. When she lifts her clothes from the wound, she feels terrible pain, which makes it difficult to remove the branch from her stomach. That night, Richard warns them about the drug. He says it's very, very strong, strong enough that someone under its influence could cut off an arm or a leg without feeling pain. Seeing that they were interested, he gave the drug to Jane and asked her to hide it somewhere far from them. After taking it from her, he puts it on a chain close to him. Luckily, she still has some on her and continues to use it so she can treat herself. Even though its taste isn't great, she has no other option. After a few seconds, the drug's effect appears and helps her treat the wound without feeling pain. After she pulls the branch from her stomach, she cauterizes the wound with the drink she had. Once she's finished, she loses consciousness. The next morning, Jack wakes up startled because Richard throws a hunted animal in front of him. After being sure Dimitri is dead, Richard won't return empty-handed, and also doesn't want anyone to suspect them since they are supposed to be on a hunting trip. Once Jack regains his composure, he goes to the lake to wash his face and is shocked to see Dimitri's body floating near where he's standing. Losing control of himself, Jack sits in the car, while Richard, unmoved by his friend's death, is only concerned that Jane might still be alive, and most importantly, that Dimitri's body be hidden so no one else finds it. He does this by stuffing the corpse in Jack's jacket and asks Jack to help throw the body into the lake again. Then they continue on their way because they must get rid of her as quickly as possible before she turns the tables on them. At this moment, Jane awakens from the drug's effect and realizes she managed to treat her wound. Unfortunately, as she gets up to leave, she sees Richard in front of her and he kills her. Then she wakes up. It was only a dream. Jane wakes up frightened 2 or 3 times in succession. These are just hallucinations caused by the drug she took yesterday. After fully regaining consciousness, she gathers the things she will need because she is certain they are still searching for her to kill her. She leaves to look for them. Richard senses they are searching in the wrong direction and decides each of them should walk a different way. As they split up, Jane spots them through the binoculars she has and begins to put her plan into action. She follows Jack to his car. His car breaks down because it ran out of petrol, the perfect opportunity for Jane to finish him. She tries many times to shoot him but fails until she finally manages to fire. The bullet hits him in the shoulder. She goes to the car to make sure he's dead, but strangely, Jack is not there. She sees blood tracks on the ground showing he moved from the spot. Jack, knowing his blood could reveal his location, tries to bandage the wound to slow the bleeding. When the blood trail disappears from the ground and Jane can no longer find him, she understands he's hidden from her to finish her off. Unfortunately, the shot doesn't miss her, and Jane runs from it. When she feels he's getting close, she smashes the flashlight she's carrying against a rock and succeeds in disabling him. His leg is cut by the glass and he becomes crippled. Jack tries as hard as he can to get the glass out so he can walk on the leg again. After he finally manages to stand, it's hard for him to run after her, so he decides to return to his car once more so he can reach Jane faster. When Jane sees he's coming after her, she controls her fear and stays in place until she fires at him. Then she gets into the car to look for Richard, who by that time is standing still and unable to move from extreme thirst because they've been searching for Jane since yesterday. He goes back to the house, and as soon as he enters he calls the pilot. They learn there's a change to the plan because of work, and he asks the pilot to come by as soon as possible so they can return to the city. They also learn that his friends won't be flying with him because he brought them to the airport in the morning, so the pilot won't suspect anything, or rather, he can't tell the pilot what happened. Richard goes to the bathroom to take a shower and get ready for the plane to arrive, but he's surprised when he goes out to check and finds only the TV on. Before he goes back to finish his shower, it explodes. She offers to solve things quietly because she's not an enemy, and also she's had enough, but Jane doesn't listen. She shoots him in the stomach, and they exchange fire until Richard finds a place to hide from her. He can't hide for long because she knows where he is from the blood on the ground and follows the trail until she returns to the spot where she first saw him. She sees blood leading toward the swimming pool and notices a large amount of blood coming down behind the wall. She realizes Richard is hiding there and has set a trap. She quickly returns the way she came to approach from the other side, but Richard senses she has discovered the trick and comes after her again. They circle each other in a closed area, each hoping to reach and kill the other. When Jane hears Richard's voice close by, she changes direction and they start chasing each other again until Jane slips on the blood on the ground and falls, unable to stand. Richard strikes her in the face with the rifle, making her lose consciousness. When she wakes, he attacks her, and she can't free herself until she grabs the rifle and fires. This time he dies. She leaves the house feeling the thrill of victory. A few seconds later, she hears the plane arriving to take Richard back to the city. So after Jane takes revenge on those who wronged her, she prepares to take revenge on anyone who won't like the video or won't subscribe to the channel.